So getting an offer accepted for a buyer today is a little tricky, but I can show you a way that will greatly increase your chances of an acceptance. So in today's market, it's no secret that it's very competitive for a buyer to get an offer accepted. Typically, we're seeing overbid, multiple offers. I've heard of 20 and 30 offers on a single property. It's not that uncommon, especially for a good or a great property. If you're offering on a good or great property and you really want the property, the main thing to keep in mind is you want to eliminate all the contractual speed bumps in the eyes of the seller. What is a contractual speed bump? Contingencies are the things that sellers are looking at very closely and making sure that the buyer, you the buyer, eliminate or reduce the length of time those contingencies exist or get them off the table right away. I think the number one contingency in today's market with prices the way they are is the appraisal contingency. Remember, I said it's always a buyer's market, and if you buy something today, it's probably going to be worth more, and you may think you're overpaying at the time, but you're actually making good investment and all of that. The appraisal contingency is a snapshot of that home in today's market compared to everything else that is sold. But with prices going up at a rapid rate, sometimes the appraisal could be a little bit short. Just wait a week and it'll probably be about right. But my point is, an appraisal contingency in the eyes of a seller is a speed bump that they'd rather not have. So the number one hack that we're using is to remove the appraisal contingency upfront with the offer. And what that means is that the buyer is willing to buy that property even if it doesn't appraise. Now, there are some financial considerations that you need to know if you're a buyer making an offer on a property where there is no appraisal contingency. In the mind of the seller and in the mind of the agent representing the seller, so on that side of the deal, they're going to question whether the buyer has the financial ability to move forward if the property doesn't appraise. The reason they wonder or question that is, if you're a 10 or a 20% down buyer, let's say a 10% down buyer, and the property does not appraise, the lender will not fund the loan with just 10%. There's going to be an additional financial commitment that you're going to have to make. You need to work with your lender on what that bridge amount is, but there's going to be a significant amount of dollars needed to come in to make sure that the lender can fund on that loan. So if you're a 10% buyer, removing the appraisal contingency probably will not work if you just are limited to the 10%. And bless you for having the 10% down, but it's a very competitive market, so that strategy may not work. If you're 20, 25, or 30% down, you have a better chance in the eyes of the seller and the agent because they know you possibly or probably have the financial ability to bring in a portion of the funds that the appraisal came in short on. That formula, again, is something that you're going to need to rely on your lender to figure out what that dollar amount is. If you're 25 or 30 or greater down, you already have probably the amount of money in as a down payment on the total loan amount so that it's a moot point. But if you're 20% down and it doesn't appraise, there is a financial bridge that you're going to have to make. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, that is the number one contingency in today's market that sellers and the listing agents are looking at very closely. And the reality is, if you're in a multiple offer with 4, 5, 10, 20 other offers, most of those offers are not going to have their appraisal contingency exist within the contract. They, the buyers and the agents representing buyers, are smart enough to know that that is a huge speed bump, and most buyers are moving forward in today's market without appraisal contingency. You need to be the judge if you're comfortable with that, but I am telling you, whether you like it or not, my job is to tell you the news, whether it's the good news or the bad news. honesty is always the best policy. And I'm being honest that appraisal contingencies can kill a great deal. You may offer a tremendous price on the property, over asking price, but if there's an appraisal contingency attached to that, that's a huge negative in the eyes of the seller. So I hope this helps. For more information, stay tuned to my channel, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram. But this is great advice if you're a buyer trying to buy a home in today's market. Randy Ora with Berkshire Hathaway, changing lives one home at a time.